What I believe I'm doing, actually, is streaming live on a number of platforms, and hopefully this will work. Hopefully it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, a whole bunch of those. Gracie and I have come over to Koh Sichang. It takes about 3 hours to get here on a bus, and or 3 hours to get here on a bus and a ferry. So that's pretty cool. I actually cannot. Let's see. It's kind of hard for me to see the screen here, but hopefully you can see me, and hopefully you're well. So, with any luck, I'm live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, and Periscope. So Gracie and I are just hanging out here in Koh Sichang, and it's really, really nice. We've been able to, or I've been able to, let's just say, I'm not going to speak for her, really relax. I have a chat window up, so I'm not sure if I can see what you guys post, but in theory, I'm supposed to be able to. And here's what I'm looking at right now. So this is Tampang Beach, and our hotel, our little cottage thingy is right up there. There's a little bit of weather, of course, that occurs anywhere in Thailand, but it's pretty darn nice here, and it's very cool to be able to sort of just chill out. So I believe right now it is 10 p.m. East Coast, and so therefore 7 p.m. West Coast, and yeah, it's really been nice to sort of chill out here. I can't really tell if anyone's watching, just so you know. It doesn't give me the stats right in this screen. I'm using the Streamlabs app on my phone, and then I'm streaming to Restream, so it should be going to Facebook and YouTube for sure. It's also going to Twitch, I guess. It just sent me a message. So that's good, as well as Periscope. So hopefully you're, wherever watching this, you're safe and happy. That was a really cool little spot up there to hang out, as was way over there. We hung out there for sunset last night, and that was really sweet. It kind of reminded me of that place in Maui where, you know, if you're coming in from Kanapali, or rather if you land in Kapalua, and you're driving over to Lahaina on that main road there on the heading over towards, like if you were to go to Kihei or to Lahaina, where you head that way, take a right basically to go to Lahaina, and it would totally remind me of that up there. So life's been good here. I've been here over 100 days, and meaning in Thailand, and it's been a really, really great experience. I definitely did not make the wrong decision. It's funny, I was talking to a guy when I was down in Pattaya for a conference. And he said, and excuse my language, Mom, he said, "Oh, have you had your oh shit moment yet?" And I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Did you say to yourself, oh shit, I can't believe I actually, you know, picked up and moved everything over here?" And I was like, no. I said, but, again, this isn't my first rodeo over here. I've been coming over here for, close to 7 years. And again, not just to Thailand, but to Southeast Asia. So, it wasn't anything new. It's not like it was my first visa. And so it was an interesting comment. And I said, really? I said, so, did you have, that experience? I assume you're, making that statement because you had that experience. Do you have a whole bunch of buddies that have done this, that have done the whole expat thing, and then they had that same experience? Did they come over here and were like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. What am I doing? And he's like, yeah, everybody had that thing. And I was like, really? So I'm just I guess I'm sort of waiting for that to happen. But spoiler alert, universe, it hasn't happened yet. So as you might be able to gather, the nice thing about here is, unlike Bangkok, I can see the sky a great distance. These are really common around here, not necessarily on this side of the island. I don't know if you can see those, but on the other side of the island for sure. Big, cargo ships that don't necessarily hold shipping containers. And then they have these giant doors on the top of them that sort of open up, and it looks like an A-frame once it opens up, once they slide. And they unload a ton of cargo into barges, and then from the barges, I see tugboats dragging the barges, and I assume that they take them inland. So here's one of my buddies. He and about 3 of his friends, or she and about 3 of her friends, have been sort of going up and down the beach this morning, and she seems to be by herself. So, but there's another one way down there, another black dog. It's interesting. There's a lot of sort of stray dogs here in Koh Sichang, but there's no issue. Literally, they just do this all day. And if you drive by, and sometimes they'll just be laying in the middle of the street. But if you drive by on your motorbike and just kind of give them a honk, they get out of the way. They look at you like, oh my God, what am I doing in the wrong spot? Never had any issue with them. We pulled into a parking lot last night to just catch sunset, and 2 of them just sort of walked up to me and looked at me like, okay, well, do you have food maybe for us? And the answer, of course, was no. But yeah, we've never had a problem there. So if you're a non-dog person and you want to come to Koh Sichang, just know that you will see dogs everywhere, but you won't be bothered by them. Now, the other thing about swimming right here, you can see where there's a buoy here, and you can potentially see where there's one way over there. Those are sort of right there. Those are sort of the recommendations of don't swim here. There's a lot of rock, not necessarily real smooth like this, but sort of jagged like this. So, it wouldn't kill you, but it wouldn't feel awesome if you were walking on it barefoot. Right out here. Right out here, there's a lot of sort of, flat stones and things. And those are pretty, the water's quite warm, by the way, which is really nice. But Gracie and I came down here to the beach and had lunch yesterday. We may throw our suits on and just get into the water just to hang out because it's really calm right now. Later in the afternoon, when the wind picks up, the waves really sort of start to crash more intensely on here. And if you've ever been to Little Beach or Big Beach in Maui, then you know how the waves can be kind of intense. And there's really no undertow here, as far as I know. But again, I'm not going to go make sure there isn't one. But yeah, so we're probably going to go for a little swim right there between this rock and basically that kind of brick area there, which is where they sort of have set up a whole bunch of chairs and have the restaurant for the resort. That's where it's very easy to swim. And as you can see, there's some kids down there, and they have their inflatables and that sort of thing, and they're cruising around. So it's a really chill spot. you know, the statement of island living, right? That absolutely applies here. The really cool thing too. Oh, and so Carl Lampert and I actually chat occasionally. He was sending me some messages just now on Facebook. Carl's got a YouTube channel as well. Once I get this finalized and it finishes up on YouTube, I'll put his channel below, because he does a lot of stuff from the Philippines. He's a big fan of the Philippines. He did live in Vietnam for about 6 months, maybe 9 months, and he did a lot of videos from there. But he and I were talking about Florida, because as an expat, obviously I want to have some degree of I have many options as far as what I'm going to claim as my residence back in the United States. And so Florida, the good news about Florida for Gracie and I is we've been there twice, and we have really liked it. I really like the west coast of Florida, the Gulf Coast. We flew into Fort Lauderdale one time and then cruised across, I guess, Alligator Alley, and I can share a link to that video once this gets finished on YouTube too. I went to rent like the cheapest car available, and all they had was a Corvette. So that was sort of interesting. At first I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be really cool. And then I'm like, okay, there's no room in it. I can't put the seat back far enough. I absolutely cannot speed, because this is the car that, you know, all of the cops look at. And just so you know, they're pretty militant about the speed limit in Florida if you ever go there, on the state highways. So I needed to keep it down, which was fine. Right? And anyway, so the west coast of Florida. So we went over, we really love Lover's Key, and that's another, you know, really cool spot. But I have a business that is registered in St. Petersburg, and so we drove through St. Pete, we've been to Tampa, and that whole area was really nice. We spent like 2 or 3 days there, like a long weekend. I think it was around this time of year, in March or April, because in March or April last year in Southern California, or certainly in San Diego, let me just say that, the weather was horrible. I mean, it was like June gloom started the minute I got back from Thailand last January, and literally went all the way through like July 1st. On July 4th, when Coronado has their giant 4th of July parade, it's so large they actually have an intermission. And traditionally they would use that to clean up the horse poop from all the horses that were in it, but they didn't this time. But nonetheless, on July 4th, the weather was just perfect in Coronado. And on July 4th, that was the day that Gracie and I were getting on a plane and heading over to Boston to go visit with my folks for a couple weeks. So unfortunately, the first half of last year was just miserable for me. Actually, I'm sorry. So it wasn't March that we ended up in Florida. In March, I ended up in Maui for about 10 days. Because I'm like, there is no amount of vitamin D that I can buy en masse at Costco to be able to deal with the fact that I am getting zero sun. Or, I'm sorry, I'm getting not enough sun to produce this silly vitamin D. And so that was really frustrating. So gratefully I was able to get to Maui around my birthday actually last year. So that was about 49 weeks ago. My birthday's coming up at the end of March. And so Gracie and I will be celebrating that here. And then we get on a plane, and then we will be celebrating her birthday, which is the first week in April, in the Philippines. We'll be flying directly from Bangkok, a layover in Manila, and then from there to Rojas, or Rojas City, if you're familiar with that, where that is in the Visayas. So there's a beach right there. So we're going to stay over one night in this place called San Antonio, which is really one of the very few fairly decent places to stay in Bye Bye Beach. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's B-A-Y, B-A-Y, so I think it's Bye Bye, not Bay Bay, but I'm not quite sure. Regardless, the Long Beach in Rojas, we'll be staying in front of that. And then we have an Airbnb for the next couple nights, and a bunch of her family is going to come and visit us. And so that's very sort of odd for me, because as an only child, when I say a bunch of her family, I'm talking about her brother and sister and their 5 kids, her mom and her dad, her sister and her 2 kids, and then her other sister and her new baby. So, so yeah, we have a large house, but as you might guess, it's the Philippines, right? So I have a house that sleeps 12 for $80 a night, and it's brand new. And you know, the one good thing about the way the world is right now today is there's a lot of vacancy. So she's got plenty of empty days in the future. So as an Airbnb host, I completely empathize for you, certainly if that was the majority of your income. As an Airbnb guest, I'm thrilled. So I'm actually getting kind of thirsty. I think I'm gonna go grab a Coke, or Coke Zero. That's sort of my favorite. That and Schweppes Manaus is what I drink when I'm here. But anyway, I just wanted to check in. I hope you, wherever you're watching this, you're safe and happy. I hope this made it up to everybody. I really apologize. I didn't see any of the chats. And so unfortunately, that means that I didn't potentially answer any of your questions that you had. So I apologize for that. If you guys have any questions, obviously, it's really easy to email me. Just email me at livemyassoff@gmail.com. So it is Mike. It is Mike's from livemyassoff.com saying, I hope you're living the dream. If you are not living the dream, then there's a chance that you have not ventured down here to Koh Sichang, just south of Bangkok, and I highly recommend it. Talk to you soon. Ciao.